Well, hi there, PJTV members. I'm Bill Whittle here with my friend and co-host, the famed insult pundit, Andrew Dice Klavan, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've been doing this show for 4 years. I can't believe I've never come up with Andrew Dice Klavan before.
What happened to my career is what I want to know.
Shut up, you!
I was on the way up. And
what, are you hockey puck? That's the word I was looking for. Today's question, Andrew, comes from Lenna. And boy, you know, it's tempting to have a flip answer, but really it's probably one of the deeper questions. Her question is, how do you find God?
Really?
I would assume you probably should maybe take that as a serious question.
Yeah,
and
I think so too. I mean, you know, it's funny, I did that Klavan on the Culture, Find God in 60 Days, which I'm still one of my favorite of that series. But it actually was kind of serious because basically all it said was pray. You know, start there. Start by talking to God. You know, all my friends who think science is inherently atheistic don't really know what the word science means, because science is having a thesis and testing it out. It's not just saying materialistic things that sound kind of science-like. Yep. It's actually testing out your thesis. And when you're dealing with the spirit, you can test things out as well. And what I say in that video is find a place to be alone every day for at least 60 days. And take, 5-10 minutes and pray out loud. And the reason I say pray out loud is because it makes you form your sentences and form your thought, not just kind of say, help me, help me, help me, get me out of this mess I've gotten myself into. And you start to really...
There's a lot of 2-second prayers out there on the freeways, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you test that by seeing after 60 days, after 90 days, is your life any different? And I guarantee you it will be. Your life will change substantially. The other reason this is important to me, though, this theory I have, or this experiment that I suggest to people, and I really suggest that people just try it. You can't lose anything, so why not just try it? Is because on the other side of this, I feel that a lot of religious people close the gates. And they say, well, you got to believe in the resurrection. You got to believe in the Trinity. You got to believe in this. You got to believe in that. And my feeling is, you know what? First, answer the first question first. Is there anything out there at all? And then start to decide about the nature of things for yourself. And then there's all these books to read and all these sacred texts and books about the sacred text. So start at the beginning. Start at the beginning. And that people who want to close the gate in your face, because they know the answer, they've studied this, and they've got, those people are not acting in a way that's actually in keeping with the spirit, I feel, of certainly the New Testament, which is very welcoming and open and inviting, When I actually got baptized, when I decided to get baptized, when I realized I didn't believe in the resurrection, I thought, well, sort of, I get it, I get the idea of it, but it was only over time that suddenly I started to think, oh no, I get it, that actually is a real thing. So my feeling is, don't listen to anybody, don't listen to Joel Osteen, don't listen to, the Pope, don't listen to anybody, just go ahead and see if anybody's out there, throw out a line and see what you catch.
My experience is very similar to that, except instead of it taking 60 days or 30 days or 90 days, it took me, 30 years.
Yeah.
What I found was that when I started doing conservative commentary, I was surrounded by conservatives who tended to be a lot more religious and more Christian, frankly, than the people I'd hung out with when I was whatever I was doing. Yeah. And at first, it was a little uncomfortable and almost felt like a liability. To be perfectly honest with you, I had to carry this religion thing around. But I'd known from, even from my teenage years, that one of the people I respected the most in terms of the best person I know was very religious, but he was also one of the smartest people I knew. And one of the things I did discover over the last 10, 12 years is being around religious people, devout Christians who are exceedingly intelligent people. That gets your attention in a certain way, if for no other reason than to open up the idea that maybe you're not the end all end stage of intellectual thought, and that's where I think a lot of atheists are. It's always I always have to be careful about this, but it's at the same time it is useful. And not just with the religion question, but there are many times in life where you're talking with somebody who you disagree with on something, and you ever had this thought where it's like, I've stood where you are now, I know how you got to where you are now, and I'm in a place beyond that. I'm not saying I'm in the end place, and I'm not saying there's not somebody who can come along and say the exact same thing to me, but there is a sense that this idea of I'm into science makes me super, super smart and super, super open-minded. On the contrary, what I'm finding is, at the very least, people who are dismissive, just instantly dismissive of the religious tradition are in fact as closed-minded as they accuse religious people of being, because you can't just chuck away some of the greatest brains that have ever lived on this planet dealing with fundamental issues of I mean,
point. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we're not smarter than people used to be.
Yeah. I think one of the things that offends intellectuals about religion is that it is open to the lowest IQ as well as the highest.
Yeah,
and
imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of club is this?
Exactly. That's exactly what kind of club is this? That's ordinary people in. And one of the things I have found just by a pure observation is that there's a band of atheism. That there are the simple people who just think, yeah, well, of course there's a God, where everything come from. And then there's this band of atheism, you know, of people who are kind of smart, you know, they're sophisticated, they've been to the right schools, they dress right, and then over that are the really smart people who are mostly believers, you know. And I think if you ever want to see, I mean, this is why C.S. Lewis is so powerful, such a powerful presence, because he's clearly some kind of genius. And when you read books like the Abolition of Man or the Weight of Glory, you know you're dealing with one of the great minds of the 20th century, and he's telling it to you bit by bit by bit, and you think like, oh, I get it now. It's for smart people. Yeah.
It's an entirely separate conversation. We won't start it now. But that band you were talking about, I've had this conversation with other friends of mine, and I refer to it as Island 120. It's people who have an IQ above 100 and topping out about 110, 115, and they talk and say the things all amongst themselves and agree on the exact same things like global warming and all this other stuff. And all of this stuff is put together, and they all on the same page, and they all vote for Obama, and they all think socialism is great because they want to appear like they've got an IQ of 120. Yeah. But when you get into the guys who have IQs of 140, they don't waste time with this nonsense. You know what I mean? This is way in their rearview mirror for guys like Thomas Sowell.
You've just described the op-ed section of the New York Times.
There you go, exactly. It's Island 120. It's like, oh, please let us onto your 120 island. And guys like Thomas Sowell and David Victor Descent, it's like, 120? What's that speck back there that I left when I was 4? That's all we have time for today, but you can let us know what questions you'd like answered below. We'll tell you all about God, the universe, and everything. It's a piece of cake for massive intellects like ours.
Why we're here. Yeah.
For Andrew Klavan and PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.